Hello, good morning, children. Welcome back to the class after your periodic test 2. Let's start a new lesson that is Glimpse of India. Under this chapter, you are going to read about three states of India. One is Goa. So let's start our first chapter. That is one first part, I mean to say, a baker from Goa. Here the writer is Lucio Rodriguez. Let's start. A baker from Goa. This is a pen portrait of a traditional Goan village baker who still has an important place in the society. In this, the writer has described a baker who has got a special place in the Goan society. So let's read why is he so special. So let's start. Our elders are often heard reminiscently, nostalgically about those good old Portuguese days. Here the writer is saying he still remembers his elders or ancestors thinking fondly, remembering or recalling those memories nostalgically, fondly about the good old days, Portuguese days, how a Portuguese days were when the narrator's ancestors were there. The Portuguese and their famous loaves of bread. The Portuguese and their famous loaves of bread. They were famous for their loaves of breads. Those eaters of loaves might have vanished. Those who eat these loaves of bread, they might have vanished, they might have died. But the makers, the ones who used to make these things, they are still there. We still have amongst us the mixer, the molders, and those who bake the loaves. They still have the things among them, like makers or the persons who used to make, the makers, the molders, those who used to mold the things, or and the bakers who used to bake the loaves. Those are all alive. Those age old, time tested furnaces still exist. The furnaces in which they used to bake the bread, those furnaces still exist, still present. The fire in the furnaces has yet not been extinguished. The fire in the fireplace or the furnace in which they used to bake the bread, those furnaces, the fire in those furnaces has not been over, not finished yet, not extinguished yet. The thud and the jingle. Thud is a sound made by the bamboo of the bread seller, or you can say the baker. The thud is the sound made by the bamboo of the bread seller or the baker. The thud and the jingle, the traditional baker's bamboo, heralding his arrival in the morning, can still be heard in some places. In some places, still, the thud sound and the jingle sound made by the bamboo, which from that sound it was prominent that the baker has come. Those things are still present. In some places, still that sound can be heard. Maybe the father is not alive. Maybe the father of the baker is not alive, but the son is carrying out his family tradition, profession. These bakers are even today known as padder in Goa. These bakers are known as padder in Goa. During our childhood, the writer says during his childhood in Goa, the baker used to be our friend. The baker used to be the friends of the children, companion and guide. He used to come at least twice a day. He used to visit a house at least twice a day. Once when he set out in the morning, what time he used to arrive? Once in the morning when he starts selling his breads, and then again when he returned after emptying his huge basket and after selling out all the things, once again he used to visit the house. The jingling thud of his bamboo was woke us up from the sleep. That jingling thud, the jingling sound of the and the thud sound of the bamboo used to wake the children up from their sleep, and they ran to meet and greet him, to welcome him. Why was it so? Why were children so curious to meet Baker? Was it for the love of the loaf? Were they liked the loaf very much? Did they like the loaf very much? Not at all. No, they did not like the. This love was not for the loaf. The the loaves were brought by some Peskin or Baston, Who used to buy some peskin? These are the names of the maid servants of the house. Like some peskin or bastin used to, the maid servant of the house, they used to get the bread from the cellar. What we longed for were those bread bangles which we chose carefully. It was not the love for the bread, it was the love for the bread bangles, which were sweet in taste. Sometimes it was sweet bread of special make, and sometimes that baker used to bring sweet bread also. The baker made his musical entry on the scene with the jing, jang, jang sound of his specially made bamboo staff. The baker used to make his entry by making jang, jang sound with his specially made bamboo stick. Staff means stick. One hand supported the basket on his head. With one hand, he used to support his basket, which was lying on his hand, and with the other, banged the bamboo on the ground. He would greet the lady of the house with good morning and then place the basket on the vertical bamboo. Now you can see this is a description how he used to come and sell the things. We kids would be pushed aside with a mild rebuke, and the loaves would be delivered to the servant. When children get up from the sleep after on hearing the sound of bamboo sound, on hearing the jing jang sound of the bamboo, then they used to come around and stand around the basket of the uh, baker. But then mother or the lady of the house used to rebuke, mildly scold them to go away from that place. But children were so like curious or so like anxious to get their bread, their bangle bread. What they used to do, then we did not even care to brush, sorry. But we would not give up. But the children will not leave the place. What they did, we would climb a bench. They would either stand or climb up a bench or a parapet. Parapet is a small heighted wall, and peep into the basket. Anyhow, they managed to peep into the to look into the basket. I can still recall the typical fragrance of those loaves. Freshly made bread has a typical fragrance or typical aroma or smell. Writer says he cannot forget that fragrance, that aroma. Then we did not even care to brush our teeth or wash our mouths properly. When the baker used to bring the bread, the children did not even care about to brush their teeth or to wash their mouth. And why should we? And why should they brush their teeth? And who would take the trouble of plucking the mango leaf for the toothbrush? And they were not even they used to pluck the mango leaf which can be used as their toothbrush. And why it was necessary at all? The tiger never brushed its teeth. Very true. The tiger never brushed its teeth. Hot tea could wash and clean up everything so nicely after all. After when they used to have this hot tea with this bread, then the writer is saying that it cleans up everything. What's the need then to brush the teeth? Marriage gifts are meaningless without the sweet bread known as bowl. Marriage gifts. In the gifts, marriage gifts, bread are exchanged in the form of gift also. Sweet breads, which were known as bowl, just as a party or a feast loses its charm without bread. It was equally like a party is incomplete or a feast is incomplete without bread. Not enough can be said to show how important a baker can be for a village. These things are like, matlab quite enough to show how important a baker was for a village. The lady of the house must prepare sandwiches on the occasion of her daughter's engagement. See, bread was the integral part of their lifestyle or their food habits. The lady of the house used to prepare the sandwiches at the time of the engagement of her daughter. On the day, cakes and bolognese are a must for Christmas as well as other festivals. So thus the presence of a baker's furnace in the village is absolutely essential. The baker or the bread seller of those days had a peculiar dress known as kabai. The dress which they used to wear at that time was known as kabai. It was a single piece long frock reaching down the knees. It was a single piece long frock which was reaching up to the knee length. In our childhood, we saw bakers wearing a shirt and trousers. But when the writer grew up, he saw the bakers wearing a shirt and a trouser which were shorter than full length ones and longer than half pant. It means it was three quarters, not a complete full pant or not a half pant. So, in between those two, it was a quarter length. Even today, anyone who wears a half pant which reaches just below the knees invites a comment that he is dressed like a padder. The baker usually collected his bills at the end of the month. At the end of the month, baker used to collect the bill. Monthly accounts used to be recorded on some wall in pencil. Lady used to write the account, monthly account on a wall in pencil. Baking was indeed a profitable profession in the old days. The baker and his family never starved, they were never hungry. They never He and his family and his servants always looked happy and prosperous. How they looked happy and prosperous? From their physique. This comment has come to see when one sees their physique. The plump physique, plump, the one who is quite fat. The plump physique was an open testimony to this. The statement made by the writer that they never starved and they were quite happy and prosperous has come from this point. Which point? By seeing their plumpy physique. And it is a direct proof, their plumpy physique is a direct proof of their happiness and the prosperity. Even today, any person with a jackfruit like physical appearance, jackfruit, what we call is as kathal, jackfruit appearance, anyone who got means who is quite healthy, okay, quite fatty, that person is compared to a baker. That's all, children, for this part. Thank you.